All right guys, today we're gonna tune up the joiner. We've got a couple simple little things you can do to make sure that your joiner is running in tip-top shape, so let's get into it. I'm just gonna clean off the beds of the joiner. That'll give me a good starting point. So I'm gonna loosen up the guard. Everything is unplugged. I'll check it as well. No power. First thing that I like to do is just undo all of my previous settings. Now, this joiner could be perfect. It might need some work, but we're gonna start from zero. So, don't wanna grab the joiner by the bed whenever you're moving it. Get this all the way back, and that's good to go. Now that we've got everything moved out of the way, I'm going to check the beds to see that they are flat and parallel to one another. So let's go ahead and do that first. Now that the beds are set to zero, I'm gonna take a straight edge and just run it across the beds here and just look down it and see that they're flat. So my beds are actually flat and perfectly parallel to one another already. I'm not gonna take them out of coplanar for this video, but if they are out of coplanar for you, you can use your adjustments on your joiner to bring them back into coplanar. The good thing is we're all flat, so we don't have to worry about resetting our beds to coplanar. Next thing we'll do is we'll check the height of our blades and make sure that they're in the right position. And we'll also check to see if there's any nicks or divots in the blades as well. So to check where the blade height is on the outfeed table, we want the blades to just catch ever so slightly on the board. So what I'm gonna do is just put 2 lines on a board, and that just gives me kind of a reference to look at. I'm going to take my blade and just rotate it over and see how far that board moves away from that line. I'm gonna move it. And I'm getting about 1/4 of an inch. So let's move it back over to here. Put the board down again, right on that line, rotate it forward, and I've got it right about 1/4 of an inch. So the front of my blade and the back of my blade are sitting at the same height, which are just slightly above the outfeed table, which is perfect. So we're good on the blades as well. So now if that wasn't the case and you weren't getting that little bit of drag from the blades, you would want to adjust your outfeed table up or down depending on what you're getting. This is a helical blade, but if you have knives on yours, you can adjust your knives up and down and use a set to measure out where your knives are actually sitting. I've already gone ahead and inspected each of the blades that I have, and they don't have any chips. If they did, these are easy enough to turn 45 degrees and leave a little mark to know that I've already used that edge. But as I said, I've already checked these and they all are chip free and sitting in a good position, so I'm not going to turn or adjust them. So next, I wanna go ahead and reset my fence back to 90. Now, I don't really ever use this fence other than in 90 degrees. I tend to use the majority of my bed on the table. Now that we've got it set, we're gonna check the fence for square. And I can tell you right now, it doesn't look square, and it's not. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is square up the fence by measuring from the back. I'm gonna loosen up the stop, and I'm gonna adjust it here. All right, there we go. Nice. So we've adjusted the stop. I'm gonna put the lock bolt back on, nestle it down, and we're good. Now, I don't really like keeping this on here while I'm working. This is what I use to adjust the fence. I have to pop that off and give us a nice flat bed. Now, I like to also take a measurement from behind the cutter head. It doesn't matter as much as being in front. The majority of what you push against, because you're pushing against the outfeed table when you're feeding boards through, this is what you want to have square, anything beyond the blade. But I kind of like having the push in front of the blade square as well. So I'm just kind of check that as well. Looks good from top to bottom, and we're good. And then the last thing to do is just make sure that your guard is back in place and that it's functioning properly. So that's really about it for tuning up a joiner. Unless you're going from 45 back to 90 again multiple times in a project, then you really shouldn't have to touch it again from here. Again, making sure that your beds are parallel to one another, that your blades are in line with the outfeed table, and that your fence is square to the beds. That's the most important thing. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Check out the next video in this series right here, and I'll see you next time.